If you or someone you know is struggling with alcoholism or addiction, do not hesitate to reach out for help. You can find numerous free resources on our website, thebeginagainpodcast.com, and there are tons of resources and support networks available online, in person, or just a phone call away. You don't have to face this challenge alone. Welcome to the Begin Again podcast. I'm your host, Gary Menkes. On the Begin Again podcast, we delve into the inspiring journeys of individuals who have overcome alcoholism and addiction and emerged as true trailblazers in entrepreneurship, business, sports, and beyond. Through authentic, uplifting, and profound conversations with our guests, we aim to shatter the stigma surrounding addiction and demonstrate that recovery can be a catalyst for remarkable success, strength, and resilience. We firmly believe that by listening to these accounts, you will be empowered to unlock your own potential, instigate positive change in your life, and contribute to the creation of a better world. So, get ready to be inspired and embark on your own personal journey of growth with the Begin Again podcast. Welcome back to the Begin Again podcast. I'm your host, Gary Menkes. Joining us today is functional nutritionist, mom, felon, personal trainer, influencer. I can keep going, I think. Samantha Lander. Samantha, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
I've been following you a little bit since we connected recently, and I'm interested to hear your story. I wanted to jump out. I mean, obviously, felon jumps out, right? So let's hear about that.
Felon, you want to hear about the felon? So how do I lead up to that? I actually, I did LA County time. My dog is digging a hole right now. Nowhere. Sorry.
We have dogs here too. No worries at all.
Okay. I got a LA County case and I got a federal case. So I did 27 months federal prison, and I also did I got 8 months LA County, but I only did 28 days. It was the hardest 28 days of my life, probably. It's pretty rough.
Let's back up then. Let's find out where you were before. Obviously, we were chopping up a little bit just before we came on here, and let's hear, what was it like? And what led you up to there? I've been in some similar places, just to keep it real with you.
Yeah, it's fun. Gotta keep it interesting.
We thought it was fun.
So what it was like, the more work I'm doing on the mental emotional part, the more I'm realizing there probably was a lot of emotional trauma growing up that impacted why I wanted to escape my mind as much as I did. But, just like all of us, I started experimenting and everything, but I think I was in 7th grade. First time I drank, I didn't have an aha moment. It wasn't like great. I hate drinking, which is interesting. Like I do not like it, but that's the thing that I did. I was a blackout drinker right away. I mean, immediately 8th grade, I got arrested at Six Flags for smoking pot on a ride on my graduation field trip. Like I have so many like God signs that I just was like, well, okay. 8th grade to freshman year, I was like a wildcat. My motto was like, live life on the edge. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to try to get away from my parents, and I don't like to have the feeling of anyone controlling me. And they were very controlling. And so for me, that just was like a recipe for disaster. And so the drug use, everything that flourished big time, so I think freshman year, it was like a 2-3. I was not doing well. I was drinking every day in class. We had open campus. So we'd like go on the vodka and orange juice. Yeah, I mean, it was like insane looking back. And then I sort of got my shit together for a long period of time. I was the #1 rower in the US. I was a state swimmer. I went to University of Michigan. There, my drinking was, I dated a football player and I drank like a football player, full blown blackout drinker. Did not really do drugs at that point. That lasted a period of time, and then I quit drinking. My grades were good there. I was kind of like the normal. It felt what I would say was sort of normal, because all the girls like drank excessively. Like it just, I don't know. I guess that's what people do in college, right?
Yes,
maybe
so.
Not. Then, so I went through a pretty horrific breakup and went out to LA, and that's when I got introduced. That's where my world changed. And my good friend was coming out of the closet, and I got integrated in the gay world. And it's the first time I think I've ever felt like safe, around people. Like guys didn't have an ulterior motive. They were truly my friends. I struggled with friendships growing up for sure. I think just because I was a wildcat, but then I was like straight laced girl at the same time. It was weird. I don't know. I like still have nightmares about like the high school girls, like and all of that.
Uh,
And um, so in the gay scene, I mean, drugs are a big part of it.
mm,
I hate to say it. So GHB, ketamine, ecstasy, all of that good stuff was introduced to me. And that's when I found the perfect cocktail for me. I self-medicated with meth. First time I did it, I felt like my brain was completely like leveled out. And, it was like taking Adderall. I would bring it back to Michigan and write papers, and graduated with a 3.7 from University of Michigan. But the first time I ever tried meth, it had been a weekend of partying out in LA. So I was flying out there like every 2 weeks.
mhm,
And the first time I tried meth, it's another like God moment. I OD'd. I OD'd on GHB is what I would say, but it was the first time I did meth. And I was at Cedar Sinai, getting my stomach pumped and totally knocked out. So you quit for a minute, right? And then you do it again. And
yeah.
then I just started traveling back and forth from LA to Michigan a lot. And I started bringing drugs back with me, selling drugs. At this point, I was helping launch a vodka at my school in Michigan. So it was the first micro distilled vodka in the US. And I was going to move to LA to help launch that.
Mhm,
So I move out to LA after college. I'm out there. I decide that job falls through. I'm like fully integrated into the drugs. And I decided to buy 2 turntables and become a DJ. I was like, this is it. I'm going to be a famous DJ because I'm very entrepreneurial minded. Like I've always found a way to make money. I had like lemonade stands. I had a job at age 5. I've always worked really, really, really hard. I have a really strong work ethic and I love to make money. And I saw an opportunity. So there weren't a lot of female house music DJs out there. So I bought 2 turntables, especially in the gay scene. And that's what I did. And I did well, and that I succeeded in that, but I also succeeded in selling drugs. And that grew rapidly. And I eventually sort of had this idea that I'm just going to sell large quantities of drugs to a couple people like Sam's Club. And then and then I'm good. I'm gonna get caught the other way. It's such fucked up thinking. And that's what I did. So I was out there selling drugs and my life was good for a while. It was fun for a while, and then it turned to shit. And I was in complete survival mode. I knew I was in an abusive relationship, which I never in my right mind thought I would ever be in. Um I was emotionally bankrupt. I had everything, but I didn't understand that even though I had like a home and money, that I was at my bottom. And so I kind of just danced around with that for a long time and just knew I would when I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, something would shift and I had to stay alive. And I didn't understand drug addiction. I didn't know about rehabs. All I knew about was like what I saw in the movies. It's 11:11, just so you know, my angel
there you
numbers. Um,
go. Love it.
and it's, you know, yeah, it's just what I saw in the movies. And like, I don't know, I always like movies I watched when I was little. I was thinking about this the other day, were like Basketball Diaries and Pulp
Yeah.
Fiction. Like, who watches like that? That's what I watched when I was little. Like, that's what I wanted to watch. So that was only exposure. I didn't even know what AA meetings were or anything. And a friend of mine went to rehab and he was like, come visit me. And so I went and I was like, okay, like, I think might be what I need to do. Like, I don't really understand it. And I was sitting there kind of asked my dog that a month prior to me going to visit my friend and still not thinking I had a problem. I had a full SWAT raid in my apartment. So, oh yeah, like full on
Um,
drug SWAT raid out in LA, handcuffed face down in the front yard. And I quit selling drugs 2 weeks prior, which is even stranger. And I still didn't think I had a problem. I thought it was like, well, I had a problem because I sold drugs, or I had a problem because my ex-boyfriend had brought, 8 gallons of GHB into my apartment. And that's why I got busted. Like, it was never like, I have a drug problem. Like, this
Right.
lifestyle is not okay. It's not normal. I don't know. I hit my bottom. It was about a month or two later. I looked at my dog and I was like, I think I need to go to rehab. She put her head on my lap. I called my parents and I said, I need to go to rehab.
Mm.
And that was April 19th, 2006. The best decision I've ever ever had. It was like summer camp. I loved it. I was on that pink cloud, like, whoo, you couldn't get me off it for years. Like,
That's great.
years. I mean, it was amazing. I was laughing for the first time in years. I met amazing people. I started working out again. I was always an athlete.
Yeah.
It changed my life. I have not touched any of those drugs that I was doing since then. But we can get to that part. But yeah, drinking comes back in the story later. And, I ended up getting sentenced 8 months LA County, self-surrender, did that, all sober, perfect. Like, it was scary, but I was sober.
Yeah.
You could have put me anywhere. You literally could have put me anywhere if it wasn't where I was before when I was using drugs. It was so bad.
Yes.
And so I got the SWAT raid, right? I got arrested,
Mhm.
Beverly Hills. And my bail was $500,000, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like child molesters get less than that.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Is it scare tactics? I don't know. And they let me out the next day on my own recognizance. So I'll show up for court. I come back, my front door, there's two feds at my front door. So the Missouri postal feds were at my apartment door, and I had a federal case that I was looking at. And they told me my best friend had set me up and blah, blah, blah. We happen to be in the area, but there may be a case coming at some point. So after my LA County stint, I came home, moved back to St. Louis, and about a month after being home, I got federally indicted, and I was looking at 22 to life.
Holy shit. Wow. How old are you now when you're looking at 22 to life?
I was 26.
Yeah, young 20s. 26.
27.
And you just did 8 months. You're still feeling, I mean, you're
So
sober
I did a
still,
month.
right?
Yeah. Oh, I was still sober. I stayed sober through all of it. I mean, I was working my program sober. So we got a lot of the counts dropped, and we got it where I worked with them, which means nothing because my guy was in jail and had 24 years. So I got really lucky. Like, I would never snitch on anyone, but like, there was nothing, I don't know that it helped me, but I ended up with 27 months on that. We got it down to 27 months in money laundering. Was my charge. Yeah. I didn't even know what it was. Like, I watched Ozark and I was like, damn. I was like, you guys think I can do that? I was like, that is not at all. But I got the least amount of time. Conspiracy gets you like 8 years.
Yeah. Oof.
I always say it's better to be the drug dealer than the one around the drug dealer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, the feds, what did you end up? You got 27 months with the feds?
Yeah. Yep.
And where'd you do that?
I did it in Greenville. So,
Wow.
and that was a prison camp. So it wasn't, LA County was way worse. Yeah. I made the best of it. I mean, I was sober. I didn't have a kid. My family was super supportive. It was probably the extra little kick in the ass that I needed because I'm so stubborn, and my ego and the humility, and oh boy, I got it, right? I got it. I can do this. I got it now. I think I learned my lesson. I don't know that I would have used, but my higher power was looking out for me and gave me that last little chunk of like, we're going to reshape your brain. Like, you may be sober and happy, but like, you need to like really understand like what you were doing and that lifestyle. And so, yeah, I did that. I got out, I got a job. I ended up becoming a personal trainer. It was like 6 figures within 2 years, like killing it. I mean, life is so good. I was working a program. I mean, I was going to meetings. NA is not big in my town, and I could not relate to alcoholics. I know it's all the same. So it was like, I know that I shouldn't drink, right? But like these stories of people talking about like driving drunk with their kids, and I'm like, what? Like, I just couldn't relate.
Sure.
I would show up and I do it, and I was always very open about it. And I married into a sober marriage. He had 23 years in relapse when I was pregnant.
Oh boy.
And I think I had to do fertility treatment. So I had 13 years and I relapsed. So I think I was going through the fertility treatment and like that obsessive compulsive like mindset started happening, and then my ex relapsed. I was in a shit marriage.
Mm,
Um, Probably shouldn't have had a kid looking back, but I, it's cunning and baffling. It will
it
sit
is.
there and it is ready to fucking go. And I was like, I just couldn't wait. I couldn't wait. He was drinking. I was mad. I was jealous, and I wanted to drink after I had this kid.
Yeah.
And all the things. And once I had my kid, between the postpartum and infidelity with him, and this was within a 7-month period, like after not working, I wasn't making money, which is like I do not do well. I've learned that way. I had the rug pulled out, and I
Mm,
was in, it's simple as this. I was in a breastfeeding, whatever, nursing class, and they were like, you should just drink some wine.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, okay, I can do that. And I
Right.
kind of ran it by my parents, and they're like, well, then do it. Because it was like hard. And I was like, good. And
Boom.
it was okay for a
Got the okay.
while. All right. It was okay for a minute. I hate drinking, but I made it work. I didn't start the blackouts for a while, and then they started, and it got where I couldn't be around my ex-husband without wanting to drink. Like it just,
Yeah.
a lot of things, divorce, all of it. And I got sober right before COVID. So I had 13 years sober and relapsed.
Right.
And I got sober right before COVID. And then during COVID, like there was no way. Like the alcohol was a tough one. And it was fine again for a while. And then it progressed, and it was so bad. Like I could not physically stop drinking.
Mm,
And I was like, this is a fucking disease. Like, like before I just quit, I was like, why is this so hard? Like I thought it would be really easy, right? I mean, I couldn't stop. I could not stop drinking. I was chairing meetings, going to 2 meetings a day, had a sponsor. I mean, Post-its, digging holes in my backyard. And I was even told, I was even asked a friend if I could, like, hey, can I borrow money to go to treatment? Like, I think I'm gonna go. Like, I was telling people this, but like nobody was like, I was like really trying to like cry for help.
right.
And I don't know, I just couldn't stop. I couldn't get it. And I was in a relationship with someone who was sober. That was the whole thing. That was God. That was my higher power working through. Literally, he gave me like the exact man that I would ever want. Like tall, tattoos, like everything, the whole 9 yards. We had a kid, sober, and I had stayed sober, and then I relapsed 2 times with him, and the second time it was just like done, and I lost a human due to my addiction, and I'd never ever 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 lost a relationship due to any of my addiction or whatever ever. My parents have always been there for me, and that was that. I all I can say is like that was my final straw, and
So he
I'm
left
back.
you, is that right? He left you. Your guy left after the second time.
Yeah.
Mm,
And so we would not have probably ever been together today if I met him today. There's no way. But whatever it was my higher power worked through him, and because it's like a ghost.
mm,
He just walked out of my life. Like we don't even. It's the strangest thing. I've never had anything like it happen, but it got me sober. Whatever it was, it's what I needed to get there. I don't know.
well, I mean, you said, and it's cunning and it's baffling, and it makes no sense to people outside of, you and I speaking, or outside of the rooms. It makes no sense to the civilians of the world, if you will. But yet you kept fighting. You kept, you've had your relapses, you've had your traumas, you've had your, emotional, all of it. You've had it all multiple times, right? But you kept fighting, and you kept that recovery door open for you, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing is like I kept looking at all these people who like kept coming back. And I'm like, and now looking back, I'm like, I did keep coming back. Like
Yeah.
there's just so much humility in it. And like the fact that I could have had like almost, whatever, 20 years if I had kept my shit together. And I had to really like let go of that and just be like, it's okay. Like this is part of the process. I don't believe that relapse has to be part of your, recovery. A lot of people say that. I don't believe that, but I see a lot of people who have like 13 years, they go out. It's
Yeah. See it all the time. You do, unfortunately. I'm one of the first AA meeting I ever went to was in a rehab in upstate New York. It was 2002. And I came home, and wasn't even able to put 90 days together. And I was in and out for 4 years. But my sobriety date, I did get sober. It was May 13th, 2006. You know, when I see,
We would have been, so ours would have been so close.
I know I wrote it down. You
Cause
were
I'm April
April
19th, it would have been
19th, 06. I
2006.
know we were like, yeah, brother and sister,
Yeah.
twins almost. But, you know, I admire, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and I say this all the time too, when someone does relapse and goes out, you know, and they come back in, I have such admiration for those people because that's one of the most terrifying things for me. And I say that like we always talk about fear, right? And you can't let fear, like to me, that's a healthy fear because, you know, I know I have another going out. I know I have another one of those. I don't know if I have another recovery. And, you know, now I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son, and God willing, they've never seen their dad drunk. And,
Um,
you know, I say this all the time too, like forget about all the trouble that I've been through and everything I put myself through or everything that's happened to me. You know, if my kids, if I had a glass of, I actually wasn't a wine drinker, but if I had a beer, if I had any alcohol in this body, they would immediately sense my aura and my energy would be immediately different because I never drank healthily. You know, I never drank normally. And I say it all the time, like,
oh,
you know,
like,
maybe I get through the first night, maybe I get through a week, maybe a little longer, probably not. I know for 100% fact I will be right back to where I was when I was, you know, almost 18 years ago. And
oh,
18, you know, 17 plus years ago, almost 18 years ago was a ugly, ugly place. I had absolutely nothing going on for my life in my life. I was losing at life. I was at nowhere. I was on a treadmill going nowhere. And that's at its best. You know, everything they do say is, you know, that's me. Like, you know, what does it say? Jails, death institutions, like those are the three, like for sure, you
I'll
know?
die. Like
Yeah,
I, and
yeah.
that's what I like in the beginning, you know, I mean, it was hard. I mean, it was hard. Like I just was like, this, what is it? What am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? That's making this like where I keep having these desires or like what do I need to work on? Like, cause I do functional
Mm,
medicine, right? Like I'm also super fucking healthy. Like,
yeah, I've seen it.
and there's like shame in that. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. I know what it is. It's like my clients. It's like I'm not addressing the emotional like trauma. I'm not dealing with any of the emotional shit between my marriage and you know, I think I dealt with a lot up until like prison, but I don't when I went to therapy, she's like, you haven't dealt with the fact that you were in fucking prison. Like, let's
Right.
start there, you
Yeah.
know, and just stuff with my childhood because I was so busy being like, well, it was me. Like, you guys didn't do anything wrong. You guys weren't alcoholics. I never saw you drunk. It's me. I just like to party. It's my fault. It's my fault. Like,
Yeah.
and I would never blame my parents, you know, ever. Like, I I chose the path that I chose, but like once I've done that emotional work, oh my God, the boundaries that I have the ability to set up and that it's and my ability to just be like, no, you're toxic. I'm not doing it. Like I'm not.
You
Like
know, you just touched upon something where we're a little opposite. I did like I had an active dad and I mention him all the time. I have a great relationship with him today. I saw things that, you know, young kids aren't supposed to see and all that stuff. And for a while I did blame it. You know, like that was like my chip on my shoulder. That's like what I had in my back pocket. Like if you saw what I saw and if you went through what I went through, you would be worse than, you know, it's all bullshit playing the victim, you know.
victim. I was
And
like selling victims.
yeah, it's all
That's what keeps
victim.
you sick.
But oh yeah, but I didn't even know what that word was until I was in sobriety. Like I didn't even know it, you know, like all that's all the stuff we learn when you start working on ourselves. But one thing that's been coming up an awful lot and since you know last bunch of people I've been speaking to is childhood trauma. And, you know, I heard you talking, you know, your the last person you spoke to said, oh, you didn't even talk about, you know, you went through jail. Like we didn't, well, let's start there. And I'm thinking like Samantha may need to start before there. Like maybe she needs to start in her childhood. And I was taken aback how you're like, hey, no, I did it all. I mean, you're talking about eighth grade and you're taking it all on your shoulders. I'm sure there's stuff that, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
need to be addressed. And I say that just in complete sincerity, like when
Oh
it
yeah.
comes
We've
to
gotten to it. Oh yeah.
yeah, but, you
I
know,
had,
it's also
you know,
stuff I haven't addressed either, you know,
yeah,
and there's
well,
a
I had
reason why I haven't.
yeah. Well, so for me, it was like I basically had to divorce my family like for
Mhm.
a while. Like it's okay now. Like my relationship with yeah, I had to divorce my family. I had to completely like cut them out and just focus on myself for a long period of time till I had the ability to set up boundaries and like I'm just like I'll go to therapy with you. We can go to therapy. You want to go to therapy? I will go to therapy. And I need to go to therapy, but we do not need to go to therapy. So it just shows like once I put the, let's do the work and in their court, it's no way, and so it's okay. I'm okay. Like I don't have you learn your expectations of people, I think is a big thing. It's like you shouldn't ever have them really.
Yeah,
It
none
just-
maybe.
yeah, and like boundaries, I think are always really, really important. And not everyone's going to understand your recovery or your relapse, or my brother got mad at me because I didn't make amends soon enough. That's what I got. Well,
Really?
it's been 11 months. I'm like, yeah, well, you don't know what's been going on in those 11 months. Probably
No.
6 of those I was still drinking. It's like, yeah, it's crazy. And I think, are you a program? Do you go to meetings?
Yeah, oh, yeah. I'm
Oh,
heavily, let's just, I'm one of those. I don't care how you get here. Like there's more ways to skin this cat. For me, like it was AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, saved my life. I'm heavily involved to this day. And, I'm in on meetings, 5, 6 days times a week. I have a
okay, so yeah,
sponsor, I got sponsees. Yeah. But that's me though.
yeah,
But
and
this
that's
this
me.
podcast is not necessarily, it's not an AA podcast at all. It's about people transforming their lives in sobriety. And I want to hear all of it. And I want to learn, I want to hear all the stories. We want
Yeah,
to,
yeah. I mean, I
this
think
is to
everybody has
inspire
their
someone.
path. Yeah, everybody has their path, but I think the 12 steps, even if it's not whatever it is, I just think the steps are amazing
Mm,
for personal growth. You know what I mean? Like being able to take your inventory and be able to apologize to people, and
absolutely.
like people get caught up on the God part and all that. Like I think it's just I wish everybody could do the 12 steps, and I think the program, I love the program, but I'm not saying that's necessarily like if you have to be an addict to do them. I think everybody should do them.
I'm kind of laughing that you say that because when I first came in the rooms, I had the big book and I was talking to my girlfriend, who is my wife now. I was telling her the 12 steps, and I'm reading through the 12 steps, and she is not anywhere near, she's not even a drinker at all. She's, I don't know what she was doing with me at the time because I was a total maniac, but we connected. And but I read the 12 steps to her, and she's like, you know what? Everyone should probably go do the 12 steps. I think that'd be good for everyone. I'm like, yeah, maybe you're right. And then we get to the fourth step, right? When you have to start writing the inventory and, people that you resent, and the word resentment, I was like, I had to like Google it 100 times. I'm like, who do I resent? And then my sponsor's like, just write down any time that you've ever been pissed off. I was like, anytime I've been pissed off, I was like, all right, I'll see you in about a month. And I came back with a binder, like it's, but you start working on yourself, right? And you start looking at my side of the street and
Your
all this
role,
stuff,
yeah.
my role. But, there's so much to it, and it's a nonstop thing, right? And you start making amends, but like you said, you start apologizing to people. But when you practice it and like, practice these principles and all
All your
of our
affairs.
affairs, as they say, but it's little stuff too. Like I remember, I guess about a year ago, I was really busy at work. I had ordered lunch and I was in the city and I couldn't go down to pick up the delivery. And they're calling me and I was really like manic, and I was a lot going on. The guy called me up. He was all mad and he's like, listen, pal. And I was like, don't pal me, whatever. A big argument, And then after I calmed down and after work was done, I called the guy back. I'm like, hey, this is Gary. I'm really sorry the way I spoke to you. And he's like, you serious? Like, I bring this silly story up because
It
this is
matters.
no, it
Oh, it
does,
matters. It's
but
like,
it's also no, it's like the polar opposite of how I used to be.
oh yeah, I'm always like, so like my thing is like, I knew the program was like really working when I went to go do the shopping cart at the grocery store. And I went to, you can either go walk all the way and put it back with the other cars, or you just kind of like find a spot where it'll be okay. And I'm like, fuck. Like, I'm like, somebody's gonna have to go get this. Like it has a spot. It's not that hard. I'm a fucking trainer. Like I can, it's like I can, like it's not like I'm out of shape. Like just get up and do it. It's just
Yeah.
stuff like that. And like I have the ability to just like the positivity in my life and like the service work. I think that is so important. It keeps me sober. I got like I'm going into a jail and I'm chairing meetings and I'm working with
Yeah.
nonprofits and because I think that was something is like, you know, we get sober and we want to help others. Like I see that a lot. Like we want to dump our sobriety all over everybody and like be like, yeah, you know, you need to do this. And like, so it's like, great, use it and help people. But like, you know, they say service work. So like, I was always like, oh, I don't want to like put away chairs. Like,
Yep.
it's,
Yep.
you know, I'm an addict. Like I want to do something. And so for me, I had to figure out what was going to make me tick.
Mm,
And so if it's something that can align with like, you know, helping a nonprofit on their social media or chairing meetings in the prison, like I've always wanted to go into a prison and chair meetings, but I'm a felon.
mm,
So it's really hard to get it approved. And it took a really long time. And I finally got where I could do that. So those are the things I think that's a big thing for people is like they need to find what makes them tick, and that's gonna help others, you
yeah.
know, even or if it's working with kids. Fuck.
Well, that's the topic where I'm really have a real soft spot for, and it's something I really would like to find something to dedicate to kids, you know, and you know, the earlier they can realize that they don't have to do what they're doing and live the way they're living, and that they're not alone, the better. You know, you got children of alcoholics and children of drug addicts that, you know, that's a whole nother avenue, a whole nother,
Parent, yeah.
yeah,
If the parent's
all
not
of it.
gonna, if the parent's an alcoholic and they're in high school, the parent's not gonna put them into like Alateen or whatever it is.
That's what I mean. Exactly. But they need a place, you know, and so many of them, the vast majority have nowhere to go, nowhere to turn to. They don't even know that there's anything available to them. They don't even know what's wrong.
Yeah. Well, so in my town, I chair a meeting on Wednesdays, and the guy made an announcement that like there's like 4 private schools where they set up Alateen meetings where they're rotating them so that they went through a bunch of training. So they're substitute teachers, the ones running it, and
Wow.
and they are rotating it so there's no overlap with each private school, so they're at different schools, and then they're like they have it all set up, and it's like there's one parent that can be there that has to be from a different school that doesn't know kids, like it's like so safe for the kids. And I heard it and I was like, oh my God, I was like, I want
Yeah.
to be part of this. Like, how do
Yeah.
I do
No, me
this,
too.
you know?
You're getting my goat up. I mean,
No,
that's
I mean, you should
amazing.
talk, if you ever want to talk to this guy who set this up, I'm sure he'd love to share however it was done. It was like so complex. He announced it and said kind of how it was done and how, but it was so safe, like for these kids. And these are like private school kids, come from good families. And I guarantee half the parent, you know,
I was gonna say, you know, there's a vast majority of those
you get
parents
away with a
that have
lot
their own
more.
issues. Yeah, they get away with more stuff for sure. That's just a fact. That's, you know, that's we know the story there. You know, you mentioned something too about, you know, you're alcoholic, you're addict, and you need to do something like bigger. And I could totally relate to that. But I had this sort of epiphany recently, like, I don't know, within the past year. Like, you know, I had so much shame, so much things that I had done in the past, and you know, and I was like on a hike, and I think this podcast was being evolved in my head. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to turn all of those like negative events in my life, whatever they were, and there's a lot of them, I'm going to turn them on their head and I'm going to make them a positive. Like, you know, you said you got arrested in 8th grade. I was like, oh man, she beat me. I got arrested when I was in, you know, 11th grade. I was 16, assaulting a
Love
police
how we make it a
officer.
race.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn
That's what
you.
we do. That's what people in our rooms do, right? You know, we make it a race. But
Like,
you
fuck.
know, it was just, you know, things like that. I was like, you know what, I'm going to share this, you know, because maybe someone can relate to it. And this podcast, I think is under the same umbrella as what you're saying. Like, yeah, I got some sponsees, and I'm always like, I want to do more. I want to help more people. And this podcast is like, the word podcast was nowhere on my radar. I didn't, you know, I listened to stuff, but I wasn't even that into podcasting. And, you know, I always come up with crazy stories or crazy ideas, the things I want to do. And this came up, and, you know, it was very quickly that there was a higher power at work here, and there was something way bigger than me. And, you know, the people I've met in such a short period, I started this, the first episode aired in July, you know, so it's about 6, so I'm in my 7th month. The people that I've met in those 7 months, Samantha, like yourself, has been nothing short of absolutely incredible, powerful, special people that I'm on text messages with, and like everyone wants to do more. And it's unbelievable. And yes, you mentioned the Alateen. When we get off, I am going to ask you for that guy's number,
Yeah.
because that would be something to help. You know, children is a
He's
softer start for
speaking
them.
at my Wednesday meeting. You could zoom into it next Wednesday.
That was another question. If there's any Zoom, we'll get that too
Yeah.
offline.
Oh, yeah. It's a good
Awesome.
one. We had like 50 people the other day. I was like, what the hell? It's like an LA meeting.
That's so
No,
cool.
I love it. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you're talking about service too, and you seem to be, your line of work these days is of service too. When you can marry, that's what I think. Like if you can marry like helping people, genuinely, authentically helping people like you do with your gut health and all that stuff and more with a career and making a living, like that's the real sweet spot. And so, right, we learned service, or at least I'll speak for myself. I learned service in the rooms, like I don't want to do service either. I don't want to just make coffee, but I had to make coffee. And guess what? It got me to the meeting, right? So, all right, gotcha. They got me. All right, perfect. But, now you're living, you're making a living and your livelihood is serving people. Tell us
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, it is. I always say it's like I'm a Sagittarius Capricorn, and I feel like for some reason, I don't know, or the universe, but I am like, it's like sometimes I think I use drugs because it was so overwhelming how connected to the universe I was at times, because it was like, fuck, like another sign. But yeah, it's super rewarding, and it's niching. It's niching and niching, and everything is like you said, I'm finding the sweet spot, and it's been years. Or now, like my recovery and my life in prison and my functional med work and all of it is just like all coming full circle. Like I'm getting so many women in recovery that I'm working with that are just ready to optimize their health and figure out how to like really repair any damage and just like really, really, really just like be as healthy as they possibly can. It's amazing because if you're right out of recovery, your gut's a mess, your hormones are a total shit show, you're all over the place. Everyone says like eat sugar and you'll be fine, like, which is like the worst thing you can do. So they're eating, they always say when we get in recovery, all we do is eat sugar. So it's like I'm able to guide them on like what their body needs to really set them up for success.
That's amazing. So tell us about it. Is that strictly coaching? Tell us about that.
So I have various programs, and what I do is I do like I initially do a discovery call is what I call it. And so I'll
Mhm.
do like a full health history from like the day they were born on everything that's gone on health wise, trauma wise, emotional, you name it, and figure out kind of the best plan for them. So it's like it's super individualized. And I do specialty lab testing. So it's functional lab. So I'll do the most common three that I start out the gate are food sensitivity testing. And then we work on nutrition. We keep it super realistic and give them a plan that like sets them up for success. It's not some diet where they're going to fail, because us as addicts, even that, it's like we we also don't like to be told we can't have something.
No, we don't.
No, so we gotta work with that. So I do that, and then we do hormones, and we look at organic acids. We look at your neurotransmitters. Your dopamine and norepinephrine are usually pretty wacky, especially after using or just having a baby or chronic stress. And then, or if you're like an entrepreneur, are my craziest. And then gut health is super important. So 99.9% of my clients have an underlying gut infection, which will keep you sick. It'll just keep you sick. So it's just a really holistic approach. We use supplementation and, to
That's amazing. Now I
provide.
know you're an athlete your whole life and all, and you talked about that. How did you get into this world where you're now? How'd you land here?
So I never felt good.
Mm,
Like even when I think I felt good when I was drinking because I didn't feel anything.
right.
But, I never, as a kid, I was really tired all the time, like really tired, and always had stomach problems. And then after federal prison, I had like cystic acne, and I was working out like countless hours a day, eating super, 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 super clean when I got out. And I could not lose weight or reach my goals. And I was a trainer, and I had chronic diarrhea. And I was like, like, I'm
Yeah.
so healthy. Why am I so sick? Like, I'm like healthiest, sickest person ever. And that's when I started just exploring. There has to be more than like calories in, calories out, workout more.
Right.
And that's when I got, and every doctor, like I fired more doctors. They wanted to put me on antidepressants, go on birth control, go on this. And I was like, this isn't what I need. Like, I just knew my gut was telling me like, this is not the answer. And I came across like these functional labs, and I started running them on myself, and I'm like, holy shit, like, this is going to open up doors for people. And
Yeah.
and then I kind of went down that alley, and then I fully switched over to doing that during COVID, because it's all online,
Yeah.
so I can work with anyone anywhere in the world.
That's
I just
amazing.
got a client in Australia. So
Look at that.
yeah,
See, you're global. That's great.
yeah.
And it's C Fit Living.
Yeah,
Is that right?
SEEFIT. Yep.
Living.com.
Hmm.
And now
Yeah.
where can we find you? Where's the easiest way to find you? That's your
Instagram.
website, Instagram. Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
all over that fucking shit.
You're all about Instagram.
Yeah, that damn Instagram. Yeah, I'm on Instagram. So CFIT Living, so SEEFIT, and then living. And I do a free discovery call. So it's just a one-on-one call with me, and we just go over everything. And even if you don't work with me, it sets you up at least with a little bit of knowledge to take with you that you might be able to use down the road with another practitioner, or if things don't get better, because
That's
a lot of us are doing the same thing over and over and over, and we're still like, it's a definition of insanity. It's just like
That's
addicts.
right.
I mean,
That's right.
we're working out, eating right, and we're probably gaining weight and feeling shittier.
Amazing, right? We all want to feel good, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
100%. So where's the future taking us? Where do you see CFIT living in the future?
Right. So my goal this year, I was just working on my vision board today.
Love it.
Yeah. I pulled my old one out and I was like, holy shit, I almost did everything on here. I was like, I didn't even realize it.
Look at that.
Yeah, so this year I really want to get the corporate wellness tackled. And then I'm actually opening a company that is going to be a mobile breathwork sauna and plunge company. So there's going to be a wood barrel sauna on a trailer that we drive around and have parties for. I do
Wow.
breathwork and plunges. And
That
then
sounds like fun.
I know, right? And then I gotta do the public. I mean, my book is always on the list, but I haven't done it. But I want to public speak. So that's
Yeah.
next, the speaking.
Oh, that's great. Well, you have an amazing story, right? You've been through a shit ton, pardon my language, right? And I was thinking, obviously there's got to be a book in your future.
I know. I have a little book, an anthology with other women, but I need my book.
Yeah, I saw that there was like 21 other authors, and
Yeah.
after speaking with you today, I think you need to be the main author of your book.
I know. I spoke with a really good writer here in town, and so he's trying to set me up with a ghostwriter. We'll see. I
That's
write a children's book. That's called
yeah.
Mommy
There you
Goes to
go.
Prison.
What's it called? I'm sorry, missed it.
Mommy Goes to Prison. That was my idea the other day. I was like, I think I'm gonna write a children's book. Mommy Goes to Prison.
Love it, love it. There you go.
Why
So let
not?
me ask you. I ask this once in a while, not every time, but it's something that happened to me. I was sitting in a meeting, and this guy spoke, and the way he talked, he's like, I just want to talk to the younger 17-year-old walking into this meeting, the younger me walking into this meeting here. And what would you say to eighth grade or 16-year-old Samantha today, where you are today, all that you've been through? What would be your sage advice for you?
To try not to grow up so fast. I swear I came out and I wanted to be an adult. Like, I feel like I just wanted to get out of the nest, have a job, and be an adult so fast. And now I'm like, fuck, I wish I was still in school. I wish I really embraced being a kid.
That's amazing. That's so me. It's so me. I just wanted to hang out with the older guys. I couldn't wait till I was, legal to get into the bars. I couldn't wait, and that same episode when I was 16, I snuck into the bar. It was thanks night before Thanksgiving. And that so resonates with me. And it's funny, it's one of my, subtle little messages to my daughter. It's like, slow down, slow down. She scares me a little bit because she's always like, Dad, I'm 10, but next year I'm going to be 11. And then after that, I'm going to be 12 and I'm going to junior high school next year. It's like, please just slow down.
Okay.
Don't be in such a rush.
My kid is like, oh, like he just one day we were in it and he's like, well, I want to be an adult. And like, I want to, like, it's just, I was like, no, you don't. No, you don't.
You
Like,
don't.
enjoy this.
You don't.
Yeah.
You
He's
don't.
a lot. He has, my kid has ODD, so oppositional defiant disorder. So thank God I'm not drinking. But sometimes it definitely can make you want to drink. It's a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So we'll see.
All right. So one more time, CFIT Living, right? CSEEFIT living.com. And that's also your handle on Instagram, correct?
Or cfitpt.com on my website.
CFIT PT. I knew I was missing something. That's right.
Yeah.
We'll put them all in the show notes anyway. Okay. And that's your handle though. And Instagram is CFIT Living.
Yep. And I can send you a link for the discovery call if you want it.
Yeah, please do. We'll put that on the notes too as well. And well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know there's more to come, so we're gonna have to have a follow up later in the year for sure. Because I'm gonna keep in touch with you and see what's going on and all that you're working on. It seems so exciting.
Hold me accountable.
Yeah, that's right. We all need that. We all need some accountability partners for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I
Cool.
appreciate you coming. It's been an absolute pleasure. Your message has been absolutely amazing. And just remember, right? You don't have to do it. You don't have to live that way anymore, right? And you're not alone.
Oh, thank God.
Thanks for coming. God bless.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another powerful episode of the Begin Again podcast. We sincerely appreciate your time and support. We hope that today's conversation has ignited a spark within you, affirming that recovery is not only attainable, but can also be a wellspring of strength and resilience. Our ultimate goal is to make a difference in someone's life every single day. By sharing these stories of redemption, we strive to empower you and inspire you to unlock your fullest potential, facilitate positive transformations, and contribute to creating a better future for yourself, for your loved ones, and the world at large. If you know someone who could benefit from listening to our show, please share it with them. And if you resonate with our mission and feel compelled to do so, we would greatly appreciate your support through a 5-star review, following us on Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel, The Begin Again Podcast. The more positive reviews we receive and the wider our message spreads, the greater our collective ability to help others realize that change is possible in their own lives. Thank you once again for being a part of our community. May you be blessed on your own journey of personal growth and transformation.